Hello, my name is Jingo Nelly, and today we are going to be looking at another tutorial. But before I begin off, make sure you subscribe to the channel. It will bring you some good luck in your forthcoming exams.
What we are doing in the last 5 minutes was evaluation, incidentally. We were asking ourselves whether we are on the right track. Are we going where we are supposed to go? We are asking, should we be doing evaluation or should we be doing implementation? That's what we are doing. That itself is called evaluation. So when we talk about strategic evaluation, we are talking about when you want to provide assurance to you that whichever strategy you have chosen, I did not get the gadgets for controlling and disciplining people in class, because I would just.
Kamina Namwase, can you mute? You're tired of hearing your nonsense.
Yeah, thank you for helping me with that one, because it was disturbing me. So we are saying that strategic evaluation is when you want to assure yourself that whatever strategy you have chosen has been implemented. But it has not only been implemented, it is meeting the objectives, because all these strategies, as we saw them, are intended to fulfill certain objectives. So you want to ensure that the strategy is first of all being implemented. But even when it's being implemented, it is meeting the objectives. It's like when I'm in class, my strategy is of how to deliver. But my objective of delivery is that I want people to understand. So even when I'm lecturing, I see whether I've lectured, but I also try to see whether it has met the objective of your understanding. Because if you are not understood, then the strategy has been implemented, but it has failed to meet the objective. So we want to ensure that even as we implement, which some of you missed, which I'll do it, you are also assured that even the objective for which the strategy was crafted has been attained. So you must have in place an evaluation and control system, which keeps on helping you to see really, is it done? Is it doing what it was supposed to do, meeting what it was supposed to do? So you need in place evaluation and control system. You also need in place a reward system, those who are there in the implementation, that you create a reward system, you create a recognition system that rewards those who have done well, that recognizes those who are doing well. But you must also have what is called information system, which keeps on giving you feedback. So which keeps on giving you feedback that this is not done, this was to be done, this one made it not possible to be done, etc., etc. So what happens is you must have evaluation system that helps you to recycle feedback into new strategic planning. Okay. Now, if we are met now and we realize that, hey, block 12 did not do implementation, because I was saying I was meeting this other group, then I go to them, but they did something else which is equally good. It helps me into a new planning that, let's have another class on Wednesday. We do implementation. So by having an evaluation system, you are able to get certain feedback, which feedback help you when you come to the end of this planning period, of the planned period. Then you say, okay, these are the things these were the gaps that were realized in the old strategic plan. Let's push it to the next season. You need an evaluation system so that you see whether the strategic choices you have made, because there's strategic, we did strategic choice, you remember? So you want to check really whether the one you made, the choices you made, the strategies you have chosen were appropriate in the first place. I told you, not all, no single strategy is appropriate for all times and all situations. So you want to double check, see whether the strategic choice you made was appropriate with the environment, like the environment of skyrocketing prices. So now if you are implementing your strategy, how is it appropriate with this environment of skyrocketing commodity prices? Is it still appropriate or is requiring adjustment? You want to check whether the choices are consistent with the environment, is rhyming, is matching, is flowing with the environment, because the environment keeps on changing. So you are not going to just blindly implement without trying to double check for appropriateness and consistency of your strategy as far as environment is concerned. This consistency must be applied, especially in lower level or in lower levels, in the levels of the implementers, the people who are implementing the strategies. You must be able to see that whatever is put in place is consistent in application. So why are we interested in control and evaluation? Why are we interested in strategic evaluation and control? We are interested because we want to see whether our decisions are consistent with policy. Policy are operational guidelines. Policies are organizational guidelines that help us to implement what we are implementing. So if there were no guidelines, you will get lost. You need to keep on doing evaluation and control to see whether your decisions which you have taken rhymes, your decisions rhyme with the policy. If it doesn't, then you must change the decision because the policy are constant. You do evaluation and control to see whether there are sufficient resources. I've just told you about the skyrocketing prices. When you are doing the costing of your strategies, you could have made costing based on the prevailing prices. And that is what has given you the aggregate of the resources you are intended to use for implementing this strategy. Now, in this environment, are those resources sufficient? If they are not, then you must look for ways and means. In government, when the resources are not sufficient, you go for supplementary budget. In companies, when it is not enough, you go back to the board and say this is not enough. You ask for more funding. You ask yourself in evaluation and control, is the environment still as anticipated? You anticipated more demand. You had anticipated more sales. You had anticipated more profits. You have anticipated more employee commitment. Is the environment still as anticipated? You had anticipated a peaceful, a stable environment. Next month, the Kenyans are going for elections. So as you are implementing those strategies, the elections maintain the environment, maintain the status quo of the environment, or there's going to be a pandemonium. So you must ask yourself whether the environment as it exists is as it was when you were anticipating it during the strategy for crafting. You ask yourself in control and evaluation whether you are meeting your targets. As I'm asking myself, when these 240 students are quiet, whether I'm meeting my target, that they are understanding me. Are they understanding me or they have slept? They had been Brody, they had been King Flora had been coming around, but causing a lot of echo in the system. But now there is quietness. Is the target of making them understand being met? Okay, you ask yourself in control and evaluation: are the plans still relevant? You know, you're in your final year, you had your strategies. You are when after in October, would those plans of yours when you are students still be relevant? Will it still be relevant? Will the plans of skyrocketing prices still be relevant when prices are just running, and you don't know when it will come down because it's a global phenomenon because of COVID-19 and Ukraine-Russian war. So is the plan still relevant, or you should change it? That is why you need control and evaluation to help you answer some of those questions, So you must therefore embark on what we call control and evaluation process, control and evaluation stages, step by step of what you should do in doing or strategic control and evaluation. So we saw that you need a structure in place, the organization structure. That means those are the levels of departments. Those are the levels of divisions. Those are the levels of sections. Those are the levels of departments or faculties, depending on the institution. So what is the organization structure in place? The organization structure is provide the main mechanism of carrying out control and evaluation, because it's the organization structure which has been able to align tasks to individuals, align tasks to departments, align tasks to units. So as you do control and evaluation, you go to those units, you go to those individuals, you go to those sections, and you see what have they done as far as allocation of tasks was concerned. What have they done? They provide you with the mechanism of carrying out control and evaluation, because it is them that you go and say, you are supposed to teach, you are supposed to timetable, you are supposed to register students, you are supposed to give them permits, you are supposed to do this. You go to those units, those structures, and see whether they have done their part. But the other issue, which is very important, is also the style. Those who did, those who have already done implementation are aware of the leadership style, which is very important. The style provides the main mechanism of control and evaluation, because it is the style which makes people committed or not committed, which makes people motivated or not motivated, which brings teamness in seeing how things are done. It is the structure, it's the leadership style that brings commitment or lack of commitment. So you need to know that it's very important that you should have the main mechanism of carrying out the control and evaluation process in organizational structure and the leadership style. As far as control and evaluation are concerned, there are 4 activities in the process, but they are interrelated. One leads into the other. They are interrelated. One is you establish targets. What are your targets? I told you my targets is you should understand. What are your standards? You must establish the standards. For you to be able to understand, you must maintain silence. You must pay attention. Those are standards. What are the implementation plans? You must have them. So you establish the implementation plans. We shall do it in reverse gear when we see implementation. With the implementation, draw a plan. You already have your strategic plan, but draw an implementation plan. Have it. Because without it, you will end up with the strategic plan in paper, but you'll not know how to go about A, B, C, D activity. So that's the first thing. Establish targets, standards, and implementation plan. So that when you even go to see, we met this, we met this, you already have them established. The other thing you have to do is then you go ahead and say, no, I have the targets now, I have the standards, I have the plans. What is the actual performance? What have I done? What have I done? You measure the actual performance so that the actual performance can be able to tell you to what extent you have performed, to what extent have you performed. And therefore, by measuring this actual performance, it will help you to establish what your level of performance. Once you have understood your level of performance, you then compare it to the targets, the standards, and the implementation plan. It will reveal deviations. It will reveal deviations. The deviations can be negative, we call it variance. Yeah, those who are doing a finance, we call it variance. So it can be negative, it can be positive. You could have done better, more better than you had expected. That's positive. You could have done worse. You have not met the target. It's negative. Then you determine the corrective action. These things we did it in planning as a topic, and in first year, how you do control and evaluation and determine the deviations. After deviations, you look for the necessary modifications. So what is your role if you are charged with the responsibility of crafting the strategy of an organization? If it's your work to look for strategies to be employed, to be used by your place of work. So we are saying that if you are a strategist, you must know that evaluation should take place at every level. At every level, at all levels. You evaluate at the top level, the middle level, the lower level. So at the corporate level, or what we call the top level, you must evaluate overall corporate strategy, overall strategy of the company. What is the strategy? How is it performing? The other thing, you also monitor SBU evaluation, strategic business units. Every unit, every department is called SBU. Like accounting is SBU in our school setting, finance is a SBU. So you monitor how is each of these units performing. So one of the tools that you use, which is known by both the accountants and the financiers, is the budget. The budget is very useful tool to help you in control, because it talks about the financial elements of the plan. What finances do you need to execute this plan? But you will also realize that even if it's good, because it talks about these financial elements, it lacks non-financial. It lacks non-financial assumptions. It also lacks other assumptions. Okay, so that is its weakness. That's its weakness. That's its weakness. It can help you handle finance, but it also lacks non-financial aspects, things that cannot be quantified financially. So you must, I don't know whether you understood this when you're in first year. There's what we call line relationship and staff relationship. When you, if I don't know whether you understood, because it would have helped you to understand what we want to say here. If you are a head of department, you are subordinate below you. Relationship between the boss and the subordinate is called a line relationship, a line position. But if you are in a position and that position requires you to have someone to assist you, and in most cases we call it personal assistant. Okay, personal assistant to the minister, to the PS, to the manager. That is called a staff position. A staff position. So here what we are meaning is that if you are to be the controller of the strategy, if you are to be the evaluator of the strategy, you may not appear at the top position. You may not be the MD or whatever title you have in your company. But when they are appointing you, they should appoint you and put you adjacent in the organization structure. You should be adjacent to the top position. So that relationship where it is not vertical, but is horizontal between the boss and the officer is called staff position. So even if you are not the MD, but you are asked to be the one in charge of the strategic evaluation, they must appoint you and place you adjacent to the top person. The idea is that even when you are there, you only execute work according to instructions you receive from the topmost boss. But you are put there just to make you be at a higher position, but you don't have authority of your own. This thing you should have done it in strategy, in principles of management. If you didn't do it, you will do it in master. But that's what I want you to understand. That even if you are a low-level person, if you are the one to be in charge of carrying out strategic evaluation and control, you must be put at a higher level, so that whatever you do, you coordinate it, you give feedback directly to the boss without passing through the barriers or passing through your own. But I pray you understand what I'm saying. Oh, that's what it is here. So what happens is is what is being explained here. You are there without line responsibility. Your work is only to ensure that you carry out the assignment given to you of carrying out evaluation.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
I beg your pardon from the role, point number 1. It is not clearly explained.
Which
So
one?
From the beginning, the corporate level executive.
Top what?
From the corporate level executive, the point I've not understood the way you're explaining there.
Yeah, you listen to it again. We are saying that evaluation takes place at different levels of the organization, not so? So we are saying that at the corporate level or the corporate level executives evaluate overall corporate strategy. If you are at the top level, you evaluate the entire strategy, corporate strategy. We are saying that at that level, you monitor SBU's evaluation. You monitor how every unit, this unit means in your arrangement, what is it like for us? Our units are departments, okay? Those are our units. Okay, so you monitor all those units, how are they performing? And we went ahead and said that for you to be able to do this evaluation or to do this control, a very useful tool is the budget. Budget is a very useful tool. Okay? And therefore, it connects all the financial what? All the financial aspects or elements. But I went ahead and say, although it connects all, there are other non-financial assumptions. There are also other assumptions which this budget tool lacks. Things like commitment of employees. Things like attitude of employees. Okay? Yet they are very important in making sure they do their work. But these ones are the financial aspect does not cover. It doesn't cover. So that's what I was saying. That's what I was saying. So I went ahead to say that you, as controller of a strategy, may be appointed at the top position. In a staff position, I was explaining that if you just a simple illustration for what you understand. If you are the principal and you want to appoint somebody in charge of strategy, you make that person appear all adjacent to you. So in the organizational structure which of the school, which is at the topmost level, is means of education and sports, which coordinates all the activities. Then you come to the school council or the governing council, then the principal. So where you put the principal to the policies of department, this other person is put for a specific purpose, and it does only that and gives reports, feedback to the boss only. He cannot command any other person in the organization in aspect of what they do. Even when he finds that some units, some business units are not doing their job the way it should be, he just gives it to the boss. He doesn't go to those people. Say, why are you not doing this? Mutegeki, what is the problem? Why don't you leave Flora alone? You are going near Flora for what now? Mutegeki. So that's what who you are saying there. So before you beg my pardon, Mutegeki away. Before you begged my pardon, I was saying besides the budget, there are also other evaluation and control setups or tools. One of them is called internal audit committees. Those who are doing accounting and finance are conversant with it. They know audit committees are put at the board level. Every board of a company has committees, but one of the committees is audit committee. Okay, audit committees, whose work is to find out this activity, this expenditure, was it budgeted for, and was it done? Was it, what was the, why was it paid? But there's even internal audit in the system also to approve payments, to ask, to check that the vote is being complied with. The vote is the allocation of funds to different activities, different departments, different units. The vote is being taken care of, so that if you have exhausted your vote, exhausted the funds that have been given to you, you have to wait for the next financial year. Or if you cannot wait, then you have to apply. And these audit committees would have to see whether it's necessary and why should you be added money. There are also executive committees at board level. Executive committees like the finance committee, disciplinary committees, whatever committees. Then the other people who also come to see, you have a strategic plan, you have executed the strategic plan, how far have you gone, are the external auditors. In the government setup, the external auditors is led by the auditor general. The auditor general. So what happens is you must have these committees, I mean external auditors, to come and see. So if you're a company, you're not a government entity, you must appoint external auditors at the annual general meeting, who must then give the owners, the investors in the annual general meeting every financial year, the audit report. What have you done? What haven't you done? Did you do things according to how you are supposed to do it? So all these external auditors, executive committees, internal audit committees evaluate and control top management. They evaluate and control top management. So why should we evaluate? Why should we evaluate? We are saying you must evaluate. Because if you do not evaluate, you will land in trouble. You land in trouble. The trouble you will land in is that your unwillingness to evaluate is a common cause of your failure, of strategy failure. Why strategies fail is because they have not been evaluated. I've told you, when you are going to Kampala, you must keep asking yourself, am I on the road to Kampala? So if you are not even willing to ask yourself, am I on the road to Kampala? You are failing to reach Kampala. You will fail. You will fail. So even when you have a strategy in place, you must keep asking yourself, am I using the correct path? Huh? Am I on the right route in implementing this strategy? Am I doing it the way I had intended to do it? So if you don't want to evaluate your strategy, you are going to suffer strategy failure. The other thing is the fact that you don't want to fail. You don't want to experience failure. It will increase your motivation to evaluate. You know what is called failure experience. You have known what it means if you have a retake. So because you don't want to have that failure experience, you would be motivated to evaluate. So that fear of not wanting to experience failure motivates you to perform. The reward that would come if the objectives are attained increases motivation to evaluate. You evaluate so that you can succeed, so that when you succeed, you can get performance reward. You can get performance reward. It will motivate you to do what? To evaluate. So what is very important? What is very important is that the reward system are done irrespective.
But
You have started again.
sir,
You have started again. Huh? You have started again. I'm saying now you look at
yes.
now what is that? What is that? Let me go to your name. Go to what you have written. Go to what you have written. Now, let me just leave this. Now, still reading your chat. Somebody is asking, I don't know who. Is it telling me or GRC to tell Basa to give the government student their money? If their money is there, they'll be given. That money will not go anywhere. It has nothing to do with our strategy. So we are saying that there's a reward system. This reward system at times is done without I'm mining about strategy evaluation. Okay. Or the executives can just ask the board how much they want to be paid in terms of salaries, in terms of promotion. It may not mind about the outcome of the evaluation. So, but we are saying that strategic demands should guide the reward system. We're saying don't pay people pay them according to how effective they are contributing to attainment of the strategic objectives. You must establish strategic measures in time before actual implementation. What are the performance measures? So that when you now measure performance, you do so when you are already established the measure for implementation. So that rewards should then be based on these standards after actual performance. So that's what we are saying about reward. We are saying reward should be based on the outcome of the strategic performance. So when you reward people according to performance, many times it is the manager who decides it. That's why we say is at the manager's discretion. We are also saying that when you go to evaluate and you find things are not being done the way it had been done, because it was beyond. So you will do evaluation and find the performance is not good the way it should have been.
Recording in
Strategic
progress.
evaluation and control. You must also consider career development. Career development simply means how officers rise through the rank from the lowest level to the top level. So you must consider it. And you can consider career development by rotating people. If I find you are here and you're not doing well, I can take you to another place. That is called job rotation. The other thing to make sure you consider career development is to give enough time to individuals, to give them enough time to do what they are expected to do. So that even if they had made mistakes, you give them time to correct the mistake and they become good. Rewards and penalties should also consider performance of predecessors. If I perform at this percentage, what were the performance of those whom I followed? What were the of the former employees? If I had done like this, was people who did like this penalized or rewarded for me? So you must also look at the predecessors, the former people. So there are certain behaviors you are expected to exhibit if you are to carry out evaluation and control. And these behaviors are good. But we're also saying that there are certain bad behaviors which you should not exhibit if you want to do evaluation. So therefore, we call it dysfunctional evaluation behavior. The behavior which is not functional, which is not good. So the dysfunctional evaluation behaviors are always trying to tie cause-effect relationship of strategic unit or performance. Okay? It's not easy to say because of this, it led to this. It's not easy. Okay? If accounting option or finance option have not performed well, it's not easy to say the cause of their failure was because of this. The effect is that they have failed. The cause of their failure is that they were not taught well. It's difficult to tie cause and effect relationship of strategic unit performance. You cannot say because they were taught online, that's why they have not performed well. It's difficult. So it's a dysfunctional or evaluation behavior. And the other dysfunctional behavior is that every time there's a failure, people defend themselves. people defend themselves. Our times, people present results as if they are successful. They say in the short term we have not done well, but we promise in the long term we shall have success. It's a dysfunctional. In fact, you must make sure you even short-term results are successful, even if you anticipate long-term success. The other thing which is also noted, which is a behavior which is not good, is where top management always claim responsibility for good performance. When things are good, they claim responsibility. They are very proud. Okay? They are very proud. But when things are bad, they blame subordinates. That's a bad behavior. It's a bad behavior. So the other thing which is very important is the areas of evaluation and control. There are three major areas. You ask yourself, what would be the criteria for evaluation? You ask yourself, what would be the feedback system and control areas? You ask yourself, what are the outcomes of strategic evaluation? Those are the three areas that you must always ask yourself. And these things, we could have done it also in year one. We say evaluation can be qualitative, evaluation can be quantitative.
Excuse me,
And
sir.
you do your accounting and finance. Of course, marketeers also know that quantitative factors.
Excuse
They
me,
are
sir.
relevant.
Excuse me, sir. Pardon on the areas of evaluation. Throw a
Areas.
little bit of more light. Yes.
Hey, the lights are now coming. I just flash it here. I say there is criteria for evaluation. There is feedback system and control areas. There's outcome of strategic evaluation. Then I click on this one to say criteria for evaluation. We say criteria can be based on objective or it can be based on subjective factors. Okay? Criteria depend on the evaluation purpose and situation. What is the purpose of the evaluation? You can evaluate because you want more funding. You can evaluate because you want to establish why did you fail. What is the situation? So then we use two criteria, which is quantitative factors. This is about figures, which are more relevant for past performance and present performance. But there's also another factor which you can use criteria, which is called qualitative factors, which helps you to test whether the strategy will be applicable or not. So that is what you do. So in terms of quantitative criteria, you compare your performance with the past, but you also compare it with the competitors. You also compare it with the standard numbers or the standards which you had set before, and you remember the control and evaluation process where you establish the targets, the standards, and the implementation plans. So now you use things like profitability results. You can use investment performance indicators. These are good for you. For the marketeers, you can use market performance. You can use market performance. Those are when you use quantitative. But as far as quantitative is concerned, as far as quantitative results are concerned, there are challenges, of which which one do I select to use? You must also have what is called tolerance limits. Limits which you can say, okay, at this, when it reaches this level, we have no problem. We can go with it. We can accept this. But it's not easy to set tolerance limit. It's not easy. So when you are trying to select which factors or to set tolerance limit, you must use key success factors. What are the key success factors to help you? What are the things that you do best? Those are your key success factors. Qualitatively, you even did this also in year one. You find that subjective assessment should supplement quantitative performance measures. Subjective is assessing according to how you feel it. Simply put, how you feel it. You're not using any figures. So you must know that the qualitative is more appropriate to the entire organization strategy evaluation, especially before you make a major change of direction. You must first embrace what is the feelings of people. So as far as qualitative criteria is concerned, the areas that you look at is consistency. Consistency is about uniformity. Does it continue like that throughout? Appropriateness. How is it appropriate? How is it doing? Appropriateness. And workability. Does it work? Some people call doability. Does it do? Does it do? Does it do? So you look at those three areas of consistency, appropriateness, and workability. Consistent with, as we had earlier said, consistent with the objectives. You're not going to continue with strategies that are not in line with objectives, with company or corporate objectives. Consistency and appropriateness for environmental assumptions. Are the assumptions still the way it was? All things have changed. Consistency and appropriateness with internal conditions. Do you still have the same good management, the same committed workforce? Do you still have the resources, the finance? Do you still have it? Do you still have the good machines? Appropriateness, consistency with, I beg your pardon. There's consistency with objectives, environmental assumptions, and internal conditions. And appropriateness with respect to resource capabilities, risk preference, and a time horizon. So you want to see whether it's appropriate as far as your resources are concerned, as far as your risk preferences are concerned, and as far as the timing is concerned. You want to see that. Workability, you want to see what does it address? What does this strategy address? What is the feasibility? You understand the word feasibility? Feasibility is like, does it work? Then does it stimulate? Does it stimulate? Does it bring commitment? Does it bring consensus? Consensus is about agreement. Does it inspire personal aspirations of the executive? You look at those as workability. So when you want to now measure feedback, the areas you look at, you ask yourself, what is going to be the timing? How often should you give feedback? And what feedback to provide? Then that one you must decide. So that you say every quarter, that's every 3 months, I should give feedback. I should give feedback only on deviations. Only on deviations. So that things going right, I don't bother. I don't give feedback on, because it is okay. Then we have what is called evaluation and corrective action. So for you to do corrective action, you need timely information. This timely information should help you determine causes of deviation. You determine causes of deviation. Can help you to take corrective action. Should help you to reward performance. I use this time, I will mute so that you ask me. You ask me if you have anything to ask.
Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel.